All right, guys, keeping the show moving. Listen, as we get into these shows, there's some broader topics that we maybe missed at earlier in the offseason, but some of these things are kind of still going on. Now, I understand Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, like one of those guys might be more unwilling to move than others. But here's the argument that I'll make to you guys. If the Cardinals really are this close to winning a Super Bowl, this close to making the playoffs, my argument would be the Lions and the Commanders have both represented the NFC in the conference title game over the last 2 seasons. If I'd have told you 3 seasons ago that those 2 teams were going to be in it, you probably would have laughed at me, especially the Commanders. NFL seasons are really weird. If you're the Arizona Cardinals and you think you're close to getting to the playoffs, who knows? Maybe an injury happens. I would rather be ready for it than a little hesitant and just do this incremental growth. Be ready for the moment. If you're a team that slips in the conference championship game, I do think you'd want to go get a Hendrickson or a Watt or a Parsons. Where are you guys at on that? Should the Cardinals be exploring the options for at least one of those guys, probably likely more TJ or Trey Hendrickson, or is it just too early in the process? Jamil, I'll go to you first. Muted.
First time again. Hey, so look, I was making a good point. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm definitely going and trying to get a pass rusher. The teams that you just rattled off, the Commanders, the Lions, the Eagles, the Rams, all of these teams that have represented the NFC, great passing attacks in what they do. To me, the way to combat that, obviously, you have to have DBs that can, cover these wide receivers, but also you got to get to the quarterback and affect the quarterback. I think, like we spoke about last episode, the Cardinals were bottom half of, their pass rush win rate. So why not go get one of these guys that can help propel you over that? That's the key to, winning games. A guy makes a play here and there. We've seen TJ Watt do it over and over where he impacts a game and, wins from a defensive standpoint. So I'm all in for it. I say you go get one of these guys and try to help your offense out by having a great defense.
No. Is that enough?
Hey.
Here's the thing. So the progression of this offseason has been kind of bananas. So one of my most watched shows on Locked On was Michael Parsons or Marvin Harrison Jr. and 2 first-round picks. Because early in the offseason, I was like, I just floated it. It's like, listen, determine what your future is going to look like now. Okay? And I didn't say that they should. I didn't say they shouldn't. I just said it's a conversation. Because that would be enough for Jerry Jones, who needed a wide receiver at the time, to part ways with Michael Parsons and make an excuse as to not why they didn't have to pay. Now, when you see the progression of this offseason, Trey McBride, $40 million over 4 years. Calais Campbell, 6.5. Josh Sweat, $40 million over 3 years. I think there's an out there. And Dalvin, 2 for 13.5. That's pretty much what you'd have to pay one of those guys. TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson probably a little on the lower side. For me, it's already been decided that this won't happen. The infrastructure is in place. Maybe around the trade deadline, things change. Maybe the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are god-awful, and you can get TJ Watt for a second-round pick or something, and you want to, change the trajectory then. For me, I'd rather go get a Zadarius Smith and just see what happens. You don't know who this pass rush is yet. And this is a year where you have a high enough floor to compete. You're not I'm not saying TJ Watt will make this team a Super Bowl team. We don't know. I think the big indicator is if this doesn't work for Kyler Murray, then you change things next year. I think they're just ready to rip. Now, I understand the sentiment, and they've got the money to do it too, and the picks. It wouldn't jettison the future to do it. I just don't think Trey Hendrickson is going to be a Super Bowl or not kind of dude for that.
Oh man. I couldn't disagree more. You look at the Commanders last year. I think obviously it's pretty clear at least this point. Jaden Daniels is just
Who did they add?
I think that's the issue. They added Marshawn Lattimore late in that season, but I think that team who, well, yeah, I would agree with you. Marshawn Lattimore wasn't great, but that was seen as a star signing or a star trade back then. I think if the Commanders knew that they were going to make the conference championship game, that they would have added a little bit more and wouldn't have brought a plastic knife to a bazooka fight with the Philadelphia Eagles, who've got stars everywhere. I'm just saying the NFL season is incredibly weird. And with no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes, no Josh Allen in your conference, you got to be ready to win this with stars. That's what the Eagles did last year. And although, like, I would probably lean towards, I'm not giving up Marvin Harrison Jr. and 2 first-round picks, because at that point, then it's 3 first-round picks, and I'd be willing to give up 2 for Micah. But what the Cardinals, I think, are missing is someone that can disrupt the passer, someone that can absolutely just run amok a game. I like Josh Sweat, but do I think he's going to come in and cause a difference in 2 fourth-down scenarios, sacking whoever it is in the conference championship game? I think that's the case. I don't want to get caught flat-footed. I think this is the year where you find out if the Cardinals are a team that can make a splash in the postseason. If they get in and they win a game or 2, I don't think you want to be caught flat-footed and be like, damn it, I wish I went and got Trey Hendrickson. Just an extra oomph. That's where I would go. Jamil, you're agreeing with me. You want to add to that?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's what I said. These teams that have represented the NFC have had a passing attack in which has to be affected in order to get to where you want to go. So I think you go and get one of these guys. I think you worry about the finances later. We saw it with the Rams years back when they loaded up with, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, all these guys on defense, brought Eric Weddle out of retirement to come compete for a Super Bowl. And then you figure out the financial piece later. You understand that there's going to be some sort of cap hit or whatever, but ultimately you win the Super Bowl, you don't worry about it. Or you get far in the playoffs, you don't worry about it. So I'm all for it.
I just want to say, as an offensive lineman, when you're going up against one of those 3 guys, I'm sure we'd probably agree Micah and TJ are probably a little bit better than Trey Hendrickson, although Trey Hendrickson had just had back-to-back 17.5 sack. How much of the game plan is taking out that guy in such a big scenario? And then in that case, when you're trying so hard to focus on one of those guys, what does it do to the other guys, Josh Sweat, Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell, that you're trying to go up against?
100%. That's what I was going to say. The fact that you can slide to a Josh Sweat if someone's having a hard time with him, that just takes him out the game. Now, when there's 2, you can't slide to both of these guys. You can't get 4 hands on 2 of these guys. So it allows the ability for the defense to actually get your one-on-ones. Now you don't have to blitz in order to – we saw it in the Super Bowl. I don't think Philadelphia blitzed one time against Patrick Mahomes, and that's because they were able to create one-on-ones with their pass rushers and affect the quarterback. And essentially that sharpens up your back end. That allows the guys to just play whatever coverage they want and not have to worry about who's where. You can really, really rely on your front to make plays.
I mean, and I get it. I get it. But you look at the last couple teams that have made the Super Bowl in the NFC. The 49ers had Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, in the second level, had a couple good corners, didn't have a second dude. The Eagles, aside from Hassan Reddick 2 years ago, they didn't have a pure, I'm going to kill you pass rusher. They had Brandon Graham, they had Jalen Carter, they had Josh Sweat, they had a bunch of dudes. They had Nolan Smith. They had a bunch of guys who had a really high floor to where you couldn't double anybody, to where you had to play straight up, and that's how they ate. And the interior pressure that Jalen Carter and Brandon Graham and others were able to produce was enough to have a B pass rush on the outside look like an A pass rush. So that's kind of where, like, if they thought that edge rush was that big of an issue outside of free agency and what they did, they would have moved up to take one or taken one at 16. Like, this was part of the plan. Like, Jonathan Gannon, what Nick Rallis has done through the course of his career has elevated the hell out of not so great talent on that side. Imagine what you can do with this. Coaching is so important when it comes to this. And it's like, I just can't. Like, Steve Spagnuolo, coach, like, he's had like 4 good dudes every year, and they're the best defense in the AFC. I know Chris Jones helps because he's.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chris Jones is just a game wrecker within himself.
Look at what L'Jarius Sneed became when he got traded to Tennessee. Like, look at what happens when you're not in a system. And that's I'm going all in on the Nick Rallis system, superseding needing to make some sort of rash move at this point.
I get what you're saying, but I was at training camp last year. I was in the pressers. And the question was always like, hey, JG, are you going to do something about this pass rush group? BJ Ojulari was at that practice where he went down. And they're like, you guys keep saying it's a problem. We don't think it's a problem. And it's just like, okay, you did address the issue this year.
Yeah.
But at some point, you have to, like, at some point, the Cardinals have to know when their time is. Maybe it is next year. And you do need to go all in, add that extra star, and figure out the rest later. What if it's this year? In an NFC where, like, we think Jaden Daniels is awesome, but sophomore slumps are a real thing. This might be your only chance to make a real splash in the playoffs, potentially move on and go get someone else. But you guys have a favorite? Like someone that might, out of those three guys that we know, like Micah probably can't be had, but it's a good topic of conversation. I mean, anyone can be had, and anything's for sale. But more attainable, Watt, Hendrickson. I mean, if you were to get something up, what would you be willing to give up? Because that's a part of the conversation too.
That's two different questions. One, the first question is, would you rather TJ Watt for 12 games or Trey Hendrickson for 16? Because TJ Watt ain't playing full seasons anymore. So we talked about that with Tua and Kyler, that stupid thing that I floated like last time. Would you rather have Trey McBride or TJ Watt for 12 games or Trey Hendrickson for 16? That's question number one. Question number two, they can give up whatever they want and it won't jettison anything. They've got the money, they've got the picks. So you give TJ Watt, their mid-second round pick, second and a fourth, happily. But it's like, I'd rather have TJ Watt because I know what TJ Watt is when he's on the field. I know Trey Hendrickson's numbers are great. That's fantastic. That defense was god-awful last year. That's why Joe Burrow's numbers, that's why Teagan's got paid. So I'd much rather take TJ Watt for 12 than anybody else if we're picking.
Yeah. Jamil, have you ever went up against one of these guys?
I have. Oh, you were not. Okay, got
played against Hendrickson. TJ Watt, I have not played against TJ Watt.
That's good. You seem happier.
Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining by any means. Anytime you don't have to play one of those guys, it's a good sign. But I will say this. I think TJ Watt is a game wrecker. When he's healthy, when he's capable, I do think that the style of play factors into the amount of games that he's been able to be on the field. The Steelers they're tough-nosed. They practice hard. They play hard. That wears on a pass rusher. And so I think if you get to a place where you can really keep a guy fresh, I think TJ Watt can give you the 16 games that you need. But yeah, I'm willing to give up picks for TJ Watt. He's a game wrecker. He's going to make you one or two plays a game that are going to shift your whole season when you need it. So why not? You have to have a pass rusher that scares other teams' offensive lines, or at least puts them on edge in order how to figure out how to block this guy.
I mean, let me leave you with this.
Go for it.
I think sometimes I sound profound and sometimes I sound like a dumbass. Okay. This is one of those times you guys will learn. You can laugh at me after. Okay. So the Cardinals don't necessarily need like a flying, roaring dragon out around the edge. They don't necessarily need that with the infrastructure in place. What they need is what they have. Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell, Josh Sweat, Walter Nolan, Jordan Birch, Baron Browning, Zaven Collins, BJ Ojulari, Darius Robinson, like a pot around a plant so it can grow with, a solidified like cocoon to grow in. And they've got that floor. And that's the thing that means more than a dude who is a game wrecker when he's on the field, but you don't want to give him $30 million to be on the field for half the year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What you're telling me is they got everybody but a solidified pass rusher.
Do that as you wish, sir. But yeah, I think that's not right.
I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate to say that me and Jamil in a pass rushing contest, we're gonna take TJ Watt or Trey Hendrickson or Micah, and Clancy's really interested in Baron Browning, Zaven Collins, and that's okay. That's okay.
Stop it. Really? That's Twitter in a nutshell right there, baby. That's Twitter in a nutshell right there.
It's probably likely at this point, if the Cardinals were going to make a move, they would. And it doesn't seem like any other team's price are coming in, but it's a good thought exercise.